This is our kitchen and this door leads to upstairs. This door has always annoyed me slightly though, because we never really leave it open when we're in, partly to spread heat up to the upstairs and partly just so that every time you go upstairs you don't have to open the door. But when it's open, it doesn't stay open. And if it did, it partly sticks out into the living room doorway. So when I saw these sliding bifold door kits online, I thought that this could be the perfect solution for this door. We've also got these sliding doors to hide away the fridge and the cupboards, so it should match in with them quite nicely. We'll still be able to close it to separate the downstairs and the upstairs, but when it's open, it won't interfere with the access to the living room or sit in the middle of the kitchen. I don't normally get nervous doing projects, but this one's making me a little bit nervous, partly because this is the original Victorian door and I'm going to have to cut it in half down the middle, and partly because this is an existing door frame, which means we're going to have to do some modifications to make it work. But hopefully it all goes alright and looks good in the end. If you're watching this video, I'm guessing it has, but it might be a disaster. The first thing to do was remove all of the hardware from the door and the frame. The doorknob was new, but the hook on the door and the hinges were covered in decades of paint which filled the flathead screws. So these took a little bit of graft to get them removed. With the door now back to its basic wood construction, I could start to assemble the sliding rail. This comes in sections which lock together using hard plastic grommets. These just hammer into place, and I'm using this wooden dowel to prevent the metal of the hammer damaging anything. I can then mark up the holes to fit this above the door frame. Apologies for the audio in the next few clips. My shotgun microphone ran out of batteries without me realising, so there isn't any audio in the next few clips. I'm fitting the rail as close to the architrave as I can, as this is the best fit for this particular door. I use the bar to mark where the holes will be, and then I use these spacer pieces to mark where the actual holes need to be drilled. This is slightly higher than just using the bar. I can then drill some holes and fit wall plugs to allow me to screw the bolts into, which I do with a socket ratchet. I then remove one of the sliding doors from the other rail in the kitchen just to check that everything's sliding okay. Then it was on to the scary part, and thankfully we've got audio back now. I'm using the track saw to cut the door right down the length. This will effectively turn one door into two hinged doors, creating the bifold door. With the cut done, I marked up and fitted the hinge to join these two pieces back together. Luckily, I've got solid doors, so I can do this. A lot of modern doors aren't solid, so this wouldn't be possible using them. Next, I attached the sliding door hardware to the two pieces, and I actually made a mistake here. I wanted the doors to match the other sliding doors in the kitchen, so spaced the hardware away from the edges. But when I then tested the slide in action, the door caught on the architrave, meaning I had to move them right to the end of the door, as was suggested in the instructions that came with the kit. I probably should have just listened to that suggestion, but thankfully this door needs a lot of filling work to get it back into shape, so filling a few extra holes won't be an issue. The reason that the door looks so unstable here is the fact that it isn't held in place at all. There's a pin that will be fit into place in the bottom left of the door. This will allow the door to pivot on that pin without moving backwards or forwards. I'm drilling a hole into the bottom of the door for this pin to fit into later. The door frame was obviously left with the holes from the old hardware, so these got filled, sanded and painted to hide these. Then it was onto the slightly more difficult filling. The doorknob left quite a big hole, so rather than using filler on this, I decided to cut a piece of timber with a hole saw, the same size as the hole in the door, to use as a plug. I then stuck this into place with some expanding foam adhesive, which could then be filled along with the rest of the filling. Because this door had many decades worth of paint on, the bits that peeled off when it was cut left a large step from the wood to the top of the paint level. This wasn't going to be easy to sand without sanding all of the finish off, and with the possibility of there being lead paint under the first few layers, I thought it was better just to fill the edges of the paint and then sand this to flat it instead. I then flush cut the wood that plugged the hole and filled this to get it looking good. The whole door got sanded so that the top coat of satin paint, which was applied during the initial renovation, was keyed up ready to take another layer of paint. I'm painting the doors the same colour as the other sliding doors and the rest of the cupboard doors in our kitchen. These have a varnish finish over the top for durability, so I also add a coat of varnish to this door to match. I then reattach the doors with the hinges on the back before adding a handle to let you slide it open. I had to make up a wooden block to allow the pin that pivots the door on to reach. So I just cut a strip of CLS and painted this dark grey to blend into the carpet. And then I added the pin to this, which fits nicely onto the door. You can barely see this when the door's on. A stopper clamp is then attached at the top to stop the left-hand door from sliding at the top, allowing it to only pivot on the bracket. And that is this project complete. I'm really happy with how it turned out, and it's much easier to live with now that it folds away neatly, no longer getting in the way all the time. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and check out more of the videos on there. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.